How many of your clients actually know the name of your MSP? Or do they just refer to you as the tech guys or IT support? It's virtually impossible to build a brand for your business name because that takes years and years and tons of cash. But there is a brand that's very easy to build and can be incredibly profitable when you get it right. My special guest today is an expert at building this brand. He's going to tell you what you should do, why you should do it, and how to get started.
Hi, my name is Alan McLaren. I'm a personal branding expert, and I live just outside Toronto in Canada.
And from the UK to you over in Toronto, welcome onto the podcast, Alan. It's great to have you here. And we are going to delve today into what personal branding is. And it's really interesting. I think you and I have very similar opinions about how powerful personal branding can be for MSPs and how actually it can help them to beat their competitors and win more sales just by building your personal brand. I know there's going to be a lot of questions from the MSPs listening to this and watching this on YouTube about, wait, what's the difference between a personal brand and the company brand? And we're going to come on to that just down the line. But let's first of all just delve into you and sort of set you up with some credibility and some context. So tell us briefly about your career. How do you come to be a personal branding expert?
Well, it's interesting. Everything, as you all know, is an accident, right? Nothing actually happens intentionally with respect to your careers. I started my career at Canon in sales. So I started down the sales side of the house, became an executive after about 10 years, and then as a president of a company, and then got into IT security. So I know a little bit about that and technology. I ended up coming to personal branding after 20 years of a career in corporate. I actually started my own marketing agency. And then during that 18 last years, the last 4 of it, we moved into personal branding because we saw an opportunity to actually change the world through one CEO at a time by helping people tell stories. And so I came to it through a lot of hard knocks, but a lot of experience on both the tech side and the sales side.
Oh, I love that. And what a mission statement, changing the world one CEO at a time. So how do you end up moving from something like IT security into something like marketing? Because they're two completely different worlds.
Well, it's my business partner's fault. So she was a PR person all her life. And so we met at a NASDAQ listed company that I was running. And then after I sold off some of the parts of the business, she came to me and says, "Oh, what are we going to do now?" I said, "What do you mean we?" She says, "Oh, well, you're a sales and marketing guy and I'm a PR person. Why don't we start an agency?" I said, "We have no ideas. We have no money. Why would we do that?" So we decided to start a marketing agency. That was it. It was no more complicated than that. But at the end of the day, sales and marketing, every company, that's what's important, right? As an MSP, all the owners know that. Without sales, you have nothing. You could be the smartest technologist in the world, but you need to sell. So I understood that well, and she understood how to market, came together. And then the pivot to personal branding really became that technology caught up to marketing. And if you didn't have the right target audience, it would squash you. AI would squash you. And that people can learn all about marketing on Facebook and on YouTube. And so we decided to go to a place where nobody is, which is the world of personal branding. And we'll talk about how important that is for MSPs going forward.
Well, let's do that right now because it's interesting. You mentioned AI, and I have a feeling everything you're about to say is going to be music to my ears because I believe in AI is getting better day by day, and I believe that the better and better AI gets, the more you need to push towards your own authentic personality within the marketing. Because if your competitors are just using AI produced stuff, whether it's good stuff or whether it's AI sloth, it's still AI generated. And the point is that anybody can do that, but not anybody can be you. Is that really the basis of what you mean and what you define by personal branding?
You should do the commercials for me. You'd be perfect.
That was my pitch.
I love it. So what we look at it is really the human to human approach. So exactly aligned, Paul, with what you're thinking about. Think about what differentiates you from another MSP. I've got this SOC, I've got 4 of them, I've got 500 technologists. It's the same story, but you are the difference. The trust that you build as an owner, as a leader is the difference. So what we say is, how do you build trusted authority with the people that matter? Because think about how you started your business. It was all the first clients were all relationships. So what we're talking about is, how do you build your personal brand to build more relationships, to drive more referrals to your business? That happens when you're out there. Your company marketing is difficult because how do you differentiate between two? I'm bigger, I'm faster, I'm stronger. They all sit 4 nines, 5 nines, doesn't matter. It always comes back to the humans you're going to deal with will differentiate you. the accounts payable people that you deal with, the technicians you deal with, the SOC you have. All those things are important, but your ability to express that is really the secret sauce.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, from a practical point of view, then, how do you? Well, let's take this back a step. Let's say you're an MSP owner and you are the primary salesperson within the business, which is, let's say, 80% of MSPs. And you know maybe that person has heard me say over the years on this podcast, be the face of the business, but maybe not acted on it because they don't want to. Maybe there's a fear of putting themselves on the website, or they want to keep the branding professional, or whatever that means. What are the practical steps to actually starting to build up your personal brand, and how do you make sure that your personal brand isn't overshadowing what you're trying to do with the business?
Well, it's interesting you say overshadowing. It's complementary, isn't it? When you think about your personal brand and the business, you are the company, right? Unless you're a $400 million MSP, but most of the people we're talking to are not. So what you do, the first thing you do is look at and say, okay, you're all technologists. Do you understand LinkedIn and how to use that as a tool? We'll talk about content in a second. You know how to build relationships and nurture relationships on LinkedIn. Your clients, by the way, are all there. They're there inside your customers. So the first thing I would do if I was an MSP, I'd say, who are my customers and am I connected with them on LinkedIn? Then I'd connect with them and I would follow them and I would nurture them. Hey, great job, Paul. That's wonderful. Then I'd go see who they're connected to. They're all potential clients. And I would never sell a thing. I would just say, hey, I understand you're connected to Paul. So am I. What a great guy, huh? Yeah, he's a great guy. Happy to be connected to you. And you say nothing else. Because here's the secret sauce. In your title, it says MSP, IT security, IT services, pick something. That's how people will recognize you. You don't have to ever pitch them. I'll give you a quick story. I saw a guy on WhatsApp doing a great job on a marketing app, and I went, boy, he's interesting. And I went and connected with him on there. Hey, I just saw you on WhatsApp. I just wanted to connect with you because I thought you were a fascinating guy. He says, I see you're a personal branding expert. I need some help with my personal brand. I didn't pitch a thing. So that's what I'm talking about. Build relationships and build trust. There's another step, of course, that you can take, which we'll talk about in terms of content development. But if you just start with relationship building and relationship nurturing, your prospecting is only going to be online and you'll never have to pitch once because it'll all come from those natural relationships.
Yeah, I love that. And we'll come on to the content in a second. In terms of bravery of putting something on LinkedIn, and I see MSPs overthink this all the time, and I understand why. It's easy for someone like you, easy for someone like me, because we're communicators, we're marketing people. That's what we do. But if you're on the other side of the coin and you're actually a technical genius, but not not great at communications, what do I actually write in that headline? What kind of photo do I put on LinkedIn? And what would your advice be on that?
Well, the first thing, we overthink everything. So think about this. So I'll make it easy for you. So let's assume as an MSP, you have 1,000 connections on LinkedIn, 500 connections on LinkedIn. They know you, right? They've connected with you. Talk to them. They don't care about the perfect headline or the perfect picture or the perfect, they just want to know where you are, what you're doing with your life, right? Because they're the first concentric circle that supports you. Those 1,000 connect you to 500,000 other people. So when you overproduce personal branding, it looks like marketing, and marketing's not trusted because you're selling me something. If I'm there to help you, if we talk about content, for an example, and you're an IT security one, well, what are you going to do? You're not going to say, well, I have the best, SOC or the best. That doesn't matter. No one cares about that. You're helping people strategically, what they need to think about, how they need to approach it, how they need to do their training internally. You're giving away all your secrets to people. They do that every day with customers, every single day. So do that. Be like you're in front of a customer who's asked you a question about your IT services, but not in a sales way. This is how, if you were a consultant, you'd say, this is how I would approach it. Go pick the best MSP that delivers the best culture to you, but let me help you do that. They're already doing it. Just don't overthink it. And if you're afraid, guess what? It's normal to be afraid.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being afraid.
Everyone else is afraid too, but the difference is if you can power through the fear, right, and just change it. I love that.
Just quickly for a moment, Paul. They've already built a business. They've already had the alligators at their ankles already. You're telling me a video scaring you a little bit? It's time to kind of practice it. So let's be practical until you get good at it, and then you'll fly on the other side.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And also, do you know what? If you make mistakes, and it's never permanent, is it? And I remember, I think it was last year, the British Prime Minister, who'd only been in power for a few months, he was talking about some hostages being released, and he in a live TV conference, he actually said, and they released the sausages, the hostages, and obviously the entire world picked up on that. And this is like a world leader on a world platform, but it was forgotten within weeks, and it hasn't affected his credibility or anything like that. So, if a world leader can make a stupid mistake like saying sausages instead of hostages, maybe he was thinking about his dinner that night, then
Yeah.
and get away with it, then you can certainly get away with making a video that isn't quite as good. Okay, let's talk one final question about LinkedIn then. I just want to look briefly outside of LinkedIn and other things you can do with your personal branding. So you've mentioned content a few times. What would your advice be to MSPs on using content on LinkedIn to increase your personal brand and to make you more authoritative and more authentic and more desirable as an MSP, obviously?
Yeah. I mean, the easiest question ever is, what are the questions that you get from your clients? Not about the technical stuff you do, but about the strategic stuff you do. Because the MSP result is the work you do, and that's fantastic. And people expect that you're going to deliver in all the ways you deliver. But before they decide even to get to use an MSP, why wouldn't they do it internally versus externally? What are the objections you get from your prospects? What are the conversations that are happening on Google right now? Go find those out, and just talk about those things. That's what you talk about every single day. It's just your competitors aren't, because they're all afraid. So you're going to get out there and you're going to start talking about why it's important to outsource your IT security. You're going to say, well, it's really simple. You can hire people internally, but now you got to manage them. HR, all the things that you go through. They got sick, they're away today, and the virus happened to kick the crap of all of our networks. Now we're screwed. Now, well, you've got us. You don't have to worry about that. Headache free. Feel, oh, I see. But you're not pitching. You're just pitching the idea of outsourcing versus insourcing, because each of them have advantages. Think of the voice of your customer and deliver that way. And if you're afraid to do videos, take your phone and practice until you're comfortable doing videos. We believe in video. 100% of our content is videos. 100%. Except, sorry, we do newsletters and other stuff, but of the personal branding content, because it's the most authentic. And that's what people want to connect you to.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We do a lot of videos. We give a lot of videos to our MSP Marketing Edge members, because that you cannot beat those videos. They're really, really powerful. Even though the LinkedIn algorithm isn't quite as much in love with video today as it was 12 months ago, it will go full circle, because what will happen is there'll be less video on LinkedIn, and some vice president somewhere at LinkedIn says, "Oh no, video consumption is down, but TikTok's getting bigger again. We've got to ramp it up." And all of these things, they're always cyclical. Okay, let's move away from LinkedIn for our final subject, which is personal branding outside of LinkedIn. So other stuff on the web, but also offline. Give us some practical things that you can do, and I'll throw one out that I use in my life, which was never an intention. It just kind of became this way, which is so this podcast goes on all audio platforms, but also on YouTube. So anyone who's watching on YouTube will see I'm wearing a blue shirt. And guess what? I always wear a blue shirt. In fact, you might think it's the same one. There's 9 years of video content, but it's not actually the same one. I get a procession of blue shirts, but it's now got to a point now where if I'm not wearing a light blue shirt, and I've met people in real life, and when I've worn a checkered shirt, and they'll say to me, "Paul, you're wearing the wrong shirt." I'm so used to it, and that's become almost a piece of my personal branding, is having a light blue shirt. Now that was an accident. So it was just something I fell into. But is that the kind of thing that we mean by personal branding? That kind of consistency of your appearance, of the way you present yourself, or is that just a small component of a bigger thing?
At the end of the day, personal branding is about your authentic self. How do you come across in everything you do? What hats do you wear? What roles do you play? Part of it can be a shirt if you like it. Like you look at, politicians, they tend to have a uniform, right? But because you're spending time with people, especially online, and I think you mentioned YouTube as an example, it is the most important platform, surprisingly, because it's there forever. And it is your showcase of everything you do is there. So when you pull people over and they become a subscriber, now you own them in a positive way. And LinkedIn, even though, because it's more transitory, only 2 or 3% of people actually see your content every day. But to continue the offline conversation outside of LinkedIn and YouTube, what you're talking about can be important, but it doesn't really matter that much. You've done it for 9 years. That's why it matters. Most people have not done it and won't do it for 9 years, right? I don't care about my uniform. I'll wear this, I'll wear sweatshirts, I'll wear whatever. It doesn't matter to me. To me, it's about my voice, the authenticity of what I'm trying to do, which is give away as much as I know with holding nothing back to everybody who wants to listen to me. That's my brand. I will do it from my heart, not from my head. And people like that will be part of my tribe, and people who don't like that will go somewhere else. And in marketing, repelling is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because you know that you're dealing with your target audience that matter to you. And what MSPs tend to do, in my experience, because I've had MSPs as part of the IT security business I have, is they're so hung up on the technical side, they forget at the end of the day, you're solving a problem for humans. You are solving technology problems, but there's someone in charge of that technology that is always up at night, and you can help them by saying, "Oh, I know Paul's got it. I know these guys, but Paul's got me. He's got my back." Wow. How do you do that at scale? You do that online. And of course, all the events you go to, you show up with that same attitude. Physical events, webinars, podcasts, you show up the same way all the time. And then people go, "That Paul guy, he's like," and then the attributes start getting described. That's what you want to be. Because the word I use is, in an event, physical or virtual, your personal brand shows up before you do, and it stays after you leave. So are they saying the right things about you? Are you delivering value at every turn? If the answer is yes, check the box, and your business will start to thrive because more people will want to work with you.
What a way to end the interview. Thank you, Alan. Really appreciate your time coming on, being authentic, giving us all of this amazing knowledge. Just briefly tell us, what do you do? What does your business actually do to help MSPs? And what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So best way to reach me is on LinkedIn, Alan McLaren, or at strataoriginals.com, and go check out the stuff we do. We essentially work with founders, builders, entrepreneurs to help them build their personal brand, both online and off, so that they can do exactly what we've talked about today, to differentiate their business and to humanize their business and to drive more business. And we do that through what we call a brand DNA, which is a strategy session. And then we either become their coach or we do it for them, depending on their model and their budget. And the rest, we make their lives easier, just like they do to their clients, we do for them. And our website is strataoriginals.com.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.